Let's do a little bit of play this time around. We're going to use Epic Photogasm and see what it does with this prompt. It was a dark and stormy night. In the distance is a ramshackle cabin with green light coming from every crack and window. And we'll see how this comes out. As we can see, it got the dark and stormy night part, but I don't see any green light, and the cabins don't look as run down as I would expect them to be when I say ramshackle cabin. So let's go back. I wanted a ramshackle cabin with green light coming from every crack and window, and I don't see that. So let's change our model here. Let's go to Dreamlike Photoreal. We'll kick that off and we'll see what this one gets us. And what we end up is definitely a unique take. The first one here reminds me of an old Kodak film picture. Again, none of them really getting the dark part in all of this. So we'll go back to the beginning again. And let's choose let's go with realistic vision. This first one. And we will see what this gets us for output. Again, our prompt is, it was a dark and stormy night. In the distance is a ramshackle cabin with green light coming from every crack and window. And you'll notice that we're getting only parts of that. I'm getting a cabin in the distance. It doesn't look very ramshackle to me. It doesn't look run down. And these, while it looks like a storm might have come through, it looks like the aftermath of the storm where you've got some sun and now light coming through that wasn't what I was really looking for. So we'll let this run and we'll see what it comes up with. Now these are definitely better. In 3 of them, you have that feeling that a storm had come through. I like how they darken up when I go over them. I actually like it better darker. Contrast seems to improve when I do that. I must be putting a vignette on it when I do this. But it looks a little closer. The cabin still doesn't look the way I would expect it to, and the light isn't right. But one thing to keep in mind, and the reason I wanted to show this to you guys this time, is these images were done, not sure what the frame is here, but it's kind of cool, very quickly. While you didn't have to wait for them all to run through, they didn't really take that long to generate 5 images each time. It took about a minute and a half each to generate these 5 images. And while they're not exactly what I was looking for, they're close. I could now open these up in something like Photoshop and change the color of the light, right? Mask over the cabin, so I'm not changing anything else, and then change that from a golden light to the green light that I was looking for. Now, I wanted it to look creepy, and none of these really look that creepy, but again, by taking the image, making the building look a little less new, maybe adding to the prompt a dark dead wood around it, or a forest around it that was filled with dead trees, for example, might add to it. I do like the clouds, and there's all kinds of things in here that something like Photoshop could then extend for you if you wanted to make these a little bit wider and just start out with these little squares. One of the things that you get a lot of if you're going to do things on social media is that square works almost everywhere, which is why I started off with the square. But if you were going to do storytelling on something like YouTube and put a story together, you're going to want to go 960. These are 768 by 768. You're going to want to do a 960 wide at least. But you can see that by using ComfyUI and putting these together, you can get a good start for you then to create a story of these. Now, these could, as we talked about backgrounds last week, could also be used as a background. A little harder to get people into these because the building is so close. You'd have to shrink people down quite a bit or expand these buildings up using an upscaler to make the image so much larger that when you take a normal image of a person and put it in there, it looks more proportional. But some ideas of what you can use here, and one of the advantages of ComfyUI, which is the fact that you can do these things so quickly. And that's what I got for you guys this week, and I'll talk to you guys all next week.